Hello and welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining. So, I've been thinking a lot about some of the unique traits and characteristics of neurodiversity and how those unique traits will be really important for this new earth that we're creating. And so I want to talk more about that and what I believe those unique traits and characteristics are. But before we get started, I would so appreciate if you're watching on YouTube, if you could subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. If you're listening to the audio version, I would be so grateful if you could follow the show and rate and review it because it really helps a lot and it means the world to me. If you'd like to support my work, you can now also buy me a coffee on my Buy Me a Coffee page. Again, thank you so much for everyone supporting the show, listening, watching. It really means a lot, and I'm so grateful for your support. And so before we get started with today's topic, I also want to give you some context and tell you a little bit more about my journey of realizing that I'm neurodivergent, coming to the realization that I'm neurodivergent. So growing up, I always was a very unique kid, was a tomboy, never fit in. I growing up in my family, I had a lot of issues. I was always considered the difficult child and I always had big emotions and I always felt like the environment I was in with my family wasn't big enough for all of my emotions, so that caused a lot of issues. Later in school I was bullied because I was very different from the kids around me. Again, had lots of issues at home. Then starting in my late teens, early 20s, I would drink a lot, party a lot, and that kind of helped me kind of almost numb everything about me that felt different. But true to my ADHD nature, I wasn't able to fully numb my authentic self. And then finishing up university, moving here to the US, and especially during my time in academia and being in an accelerated PhD program, my my the my neurodiverse traits really helped me because special interests are a real thing, and being super focused on one topic that I'm really interested for long periods of time, that just comes with being an ADHD. So that really helped me in my PhD program, the ability to focus on one topic for a long time. That really helped me. So I really saw I really saw the gifts of those unique traits during my time in academia. But once I left academia and entered the quote unquote real world, got 9 to 5 jobs, I quickly started seeing my old patterns and challenges popping up again. I never got the whole, especially living in DC, I never got the whole networking culture that makes sense to me. I was not one for having drinks after work all the time and talking more about work. I always wanted to go home, relax after a draining day, or spend time with my special interests. I never understood the inner politics of the workplace, never made sense to me because I always felt like, oh, just doing really good work and really throwing my everything into my projects that will help me move ahead. But I never understood that there's also like a political aspect to things and a certain way to talk to your bosses and a certain way of making sure your work is seen and kind of marketing yourself in the workplace. Those things never made sense to me. But for me, things didn't click until I moved here to California. And the people I was really drawn to, the friends I made, I realized a lot of them are neurodivergent. And that then prompted me to get an assessment for ADHD. I was officially diagnosed. I always struggle. I was officially diagnosed, and I always struggle with that word, so bear with me. I was officially diagnosed about a year ago. And I know people have different perspectives on whether a diagnosis is important or not. But for me, it was really freeing because I feel like a lot of my 20s, 30s, now my 40s, I spent kind of putting the puzzle pieces of my life and identity together. And coming here to Oakland, first I realized, oh, I'm actually not a lesbian, I'm queer. then realizing I'm non-binary, starting this journey of exploring my neurodiversity was kind of another missing puzzle piece, and that's where things really clicked in place for me in terms of making sense of my life experience, and especially the challenges, and especially some of the challenges I experienced throughout my childhood and my professional life as well. Some people have also asked me if I'm on the autism spectrum. That is something I haven't been assessed for, but I'm definitely planning on doing so, and I will keep you posted. But yes, getting my diagnosis and finding out that I'm ADHD, it was really important for me because it again helped me make sense of my life experiences, and it also helps me structure my day in a way, and my life in a way that really accommodates my needs. And also related to that, making friends with other neurodivergent people has also been really freeing for me, because there's just this mutual understanding there. Like, for example, a friend of mine once told me, hey, if we're doing these group hikes and at some point you feel too overwhelmed, or you feel overstimulated, and some time for you feel drained and you need some time for yourself, never feel bad to cancel, even if it's last minute. And that's kind of like how me and my friends approach things. We give each other a lot of flexibility in the way, because we understand each other's limitations and some of the challenges that we struggle with. So that's been really freeing too. So that is a little bit more about my journey of exploring my neurodiversity. And it's, as I mentioned, it's a continuing journey, and I will continue to keep you posted. But during these very difficult times in the country and in the world, I've really seen with my neurodivergent friends and people I talk to, that some of the unique traits and qualities of neurodiversity have really helped me and other people. And of course, there's many challenges that come with neurodiversity, with ADHD and neurodiversity, the overwhelm, feeling easily drained after socializing. We can talk about those challenges. I could talk about those challenges all day long, and we will definitely do so in future episodes. But today I really want to focus on another aspect, and that is how I really feel that that some of the unique characteristics and qualities of neuro that come with being neurodivergent will be really important for the new earth that we're creating. So I wanted to talk more about those aspects and on what I've been thinking about. And again, what we're seeing in the country and the world right now, it's really challenging and dark times, and there's no way to minimize that. But I do really believe that it's time for neurodivergent people to step into our leadership, because some of the unique qualities and characteristics that come with being neurodiverse, I think, will be really important for the new earth that we're creating. So let's talk more about those. So the first thing I thought about when talking to friends, thinking about myself and how I'm navigating this very dark time in our country and in the world, one thing that's been really helpful to me and that I see with my friends too is that neurodivergent people tend to have a really strong sense of our moral values. And I think that is so important right now as we're navigating this difficult time, because we really know what we stand for. And not only in terms of social and political issues, but also how we approach the world. And I do truly believe that in the new earth, in this new earth that we're creating, we need leaders with high moral values, because we see all of our institutions and the societal structures that used to hold us up, how they're all crumbling because we are lost. It feels like we're morally lost. And so in order to move the world forward in a healthier and more humane way, we really need leaders with high moral values. And that also relates to my next point, and that is our strong sense of empathy. And I know, being an empathic person in the world right now, it's challenging. And there's no way to minimize that, because I know for myself, talking to friends and other people, neurodivergent people, we don't know how to look away. The issues going on in the world, they're gonna impact us. But I think that's also, well, it comes with so many challenges. It's also such a unique, it's also so needed in the world right now, because we need people who don't look away, raise awareness about the issues going on, not only in the country, but in Gaza and the Ukraine. We can't look away anymore. In this capitalistic society, I feel like empathy and a sensitivity to the world and other people is sometimes considered sometimes considered a weakness, but really it's a strength. And we see where this capitalistic thinking has created a dog eat dog society that's not working and that's not sustainable, neither for the earth nor for humanity. So, in order to move forward in a healthier way that is sustainable for the earth, sustainable for humankind, we need to lead with empathy, and we need leaders that show high levels of empathy in order to create a world that is based on high moral values and the things that really matter. And the next point that I wanted to talk about that somewhat relates to the first two points is our strong sense of intuition and pattern recognition abilities. And especially right now, with so many different things going on every day, not only in the country but around the world, it can be really important and overwhelming to kind of see the next step forward. But I do truly believe that our intuition and pattern recognition abilities will lead us towards the next best steps, and the next best steps in terms not only of our own lives, but also in terms of creating a more humane and more sustainable world going forward. And so the next aspect that I wanted to talk about is that I feel like that, from my experience talking to my friends and people around me, neurodivergent people tend to have a really strong connection to the universe, the great beyond, whatever you want to call it. And as we're creating this new earth, tapping into our this spiritual connection is really going to be important, because it constantly reminds us that yes, we're all one, we're all connected, we're all one, and we have a responsibility to do our part to create a new earth that works for everyone and not just for billionaires or the people on top of the hierarchy. The next characteristic I wanted to talk about is a sense of irreverence that I see in myself and other neurodivergent people. And so this comes back to a conversation I had with one of my former therapists. And at some point, she said to me, Andrea, you're very irreverent, but in a good way. I didn't know what she meant in that moment, so I asked her if she can explain further. And at that point, I didn't have my ADHD diagnosis yet, so I didn't connect the dots yet. But she said to me, you're not a person who gets intimidated by someone's money or titles or where they stand in the social hierarchy. And I see that with a lot of my neurodivergent friends and people in my life too, that we have a tendency to not get hung up on these things. And if someone does something that we feel is wrong, doesn't matter how fancy their title or how much money they have, we're going to treat them the same way as other people. And I've seen in my own life and the lives of other people that sometimes can create issues in the workplace, because we're not going to be intimidated just because someone has a fancy title or a lot of money. But I think it is going to be a really important characteristic in this new earth that we're moving into, because we see in this country and in the world, we see how powerful people, just because they have a lot of money or fancy titles or are high up in the societal hierarchy, that they get away with a lot of problematic behavior. And especially in the stage of late stage capitalism, it can sometimes feel like money and power and fancy titles is everything. But for this new earth that we're moving into, it is going to be so important to bring in a sense of irreverence, because that will remind us that we're all equal, no matter how much money or power someone has, and that we're all inherently worthy. So I think that is going to be a really important aspect going forward, too. The next aspect I wanted to talk about is how the importance of bringing new, unique ideas into the world. And as neurodivergent people, we do see the world in a different way than neurotypical people because our brains are wired differently. And we see how the current thinking, the current capitalistic thinking, where that got us. It created a dog eat dog world where where very few people have the power, and everyone else is kind of fighting for breadcrumbs. It's not working, and that's why we see the institutions and society and the structures that hold up society. We see them crumbling down all around us. And in order to move forward in a healthier, more sustainable way, we need unique perspectives. We need new, fresh ideas. So I think neurodivergent people are so important for this new earth going, and their leadership is going to be so important for this new earth going forward, because we will need unique perspectives in order to move forward in a healthier way and in a more sustainable way. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is our ability to pick up new skills. I mean, we live in a time of rapid technological transformation, and hearing all the stuff about AI taking over jobs and taking over jobs, it can be really scary, and it is really concerning. And I think I've mentioned it before that I do a lot of research projects around tech policy and human rights in my work as a research consultant, and especially with the lack of regulation we see around big tech, these these challenges are not going to go away. But I do think us that our ability to quickly pick up on skills and throw ourselves into projects is really going to help us in this world of rapid technological change, because special interests are a thing. And I think those special interests and our niche interests will help us adapt and advance in this new earth that we're creating. Because unfortunately, those changes related to big tech, they're not going to go away. But I think our unique skills will really help us move forward and thrive in this new earth. And the reason I thought about that is because I've been working on my YouTube channel, have been reading up and watching a lot of stuff on how to grow my channel. And that was and going down those rabbit holes was a reminder of, like, wow, having those special interests, picking up those special interests is really going to help us move forward during this crazy time of change. So those are the unique characteristics that I wanted to talk about. I want to just empathize, this list is in no way comprehensive. So if you can think of other qualities and characteristics that you believe will help us thrive in this new earth that we're creating, please put them in the comments here on YouTube. You can always message me on Instagram too. I love hearing from you, and I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts. And of course, during this collective dark night of the soul that we're experiencing, things are very difficult right now. And obviously, as neurodivergent people, we also experience lots of challenges. So it's really important to take really good care of ourselves. And some of the things that really have helped me is my spiritual practice and making sure to get a lot of time for rest. And I know right now, with everything getting more expensive, people trying to make rent and buying groceries, and just prices constantly rising, we all experience the challenge of making ends meet and paying our bills. And then unfortunately sometimes means that we have to work a lot. But I really hope all of us can make time and space for rest to process everything going on, because it's heavy and there's no way to minimize or bypass that. And we need all the strength. So I hope we all can find the time and space that we need for much needed rest during these challenging times in the world. I think it's also so important to lean on our friends and create a sense of community wherever we are. So, for example, I have a tendency to isolate a little bit when I go through stuff. And the other day, a couple months ago, a friend of mine said to me, Andrea, this is not the time to isolate. Now you got to reach out if there's something you need, if you have a problem, because these are not the times to isolate. And that was a really good reminder for me. And I also wanted to share that with you, because now more than ever, it is important to reach out for help and support to the people in our lives, I because what we're seeing in the world, it's heavy, and we need community and friendship more than ever. And another thing that I wanted to mention is, because I've been thinking a lot about what will get us through these times, and one thing that I'm constantly thinking about is, how do we hold the grief over what's happening in the world while also allowing ourselves to experience joy and happy moments. And obviously there's times when I get really sad, and when I feel really sad and defeated over what's going on in the world. But then there's also days when I spend time with my friends, we're going on a nice hike, or we're doing something fun, where I'm reminded, okay, even during these dark times, we can experience joy and happiness, and that is so important, because that is what will help us get the energy to navigate this difficult world that we're living in this collective dark night of the soul, and that will help us sustain ourselves. Again, thank you so much for joining today. If you have any additional thoughts or things you wanted to share, please feel free to put them in the comments here on YouTube, or again, reach out to me. I hope everyone's taking really good care of themselves right now, because it's a challenging time that we're living in, but we will make it through this together. And I'm sending out my love to everyone. Thank you again.